Welcome back to that God Power channel. This is the channel where we're going to unlock the God Power laying dormant on the inside of you. But first today, we're going to continue breaking down the book of Genesis. And this time we're in chapter 15. So if you didn't join us last time or any of the times, go back and watch it from chapter 1. Because this is it's a continuous story. Chapter 14, it was about Abram and how Lot got kidnapped. And then Abram came and rescued him. Then chapter 15, this is a story that's pretty good. So let's jump on into it. So sometime later, the Lord spoke to Abram in a vision and said to him, "Do not be afraid, Abram, for I will protect you, and your reward will be great." But Abram replied, "O sovereign Lord, what good are all your blessings when I don't even have a son? Since you've given me no children, Eliezer of Damascus, a servant in my house, will inherit all my wealth." So Abram is going through like a crisis right now. I can't say midlife because he's probably a little bit older than midlife, but he's like, yeah, God's blessing you. Yeah, you promised to bless me with all these blessings, but what does that really mean when I don't have a legacy? I don't have a son to pass it on to, right? Like, it's cool to receive the blessings, but then like what am I building for? And a lot of guys, we can feel that. It's just something natural in us. You got to have a successor. It feels like you're supposed to. Anyways, Abram says, "You've given me no descendants of my own, so one of my servants will be my heir." And then the Lord said to him, "No, your servant will not be your heir, for you will have a son of your own who will be your heir." And then the Lord took Abram outside and said to him, "Look up into the sky and count the stars if you can. That's how many descendants you will have." So he told Abram that he's going to have as many descendants as there are stars in the sky. And Abram believed the Lord, and the Lord counted him as righteous because of his faith. Then the Lord told him, "I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur the Chaldeans to give you this land as your possession." Now remember, God did tell Abram and Lot and Sarai to leave Ur the Chaldeans, and that's where their father was, Terah. That's where Abram's father was, Terah, and his brother as well, and his also deceased brother. He had two brothers. He had a brother named Nahor and a brother named Haran, and I think Haran is the one who died back in Ur the Chaldeans. But God took Abram out of Ur the Chaldeans and gave him this new land, which he's in, this valley that we've been talking about this whole time. And then Abram replied, "Oh, sovereign Lord, how can I be sure that I will actually possess it?" He's talking about the land. And the Lord told him, "Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon." So basically, the Lord sent Abram on a scavenger quest or a scavenger hunt. And so Abram presented all these things to him, and he killed them. Then he cut each animal down the middle and laid halves side by side. He did not, however, cut the birds in half. Then some vultures swooped down to eat the carcasses, but Abram chased them away. And as the sun was going down, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a terrifying darkness came over him. Real quick, all those animals that you saw, that's how they used to sacrifice back in the day. So they used to take animals and just directly sacrifice them. And what will God do? Like, we're going to see how God interacts with these sacrifices. But Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a terrifying darkness came down on him. Then the Lord said to Abram, "You can be sure that your descendants will be strangers in a foreign land where they will be oppressed as slaves for 400 years. But I will punish the nation that enslaves them, and in the end, they will come away with great wealth." Now, these descendants of Abram, that sounds a lot like African Americans, slaves for 400 years, oppressed, in the end getting wealth. I don't know, but I hesitate to say that that's the real connection there, because we're 2,000 years ago, right? This could have been any group of people, but it does sound eerily strange or similar to African Americans. "As for you, you will die in peace and be buried at a ripe old age. So after 4 generations, your descendants will return here to this land, and for the sins of the Amorites do not yet warrant their destruction. So basically, the Amorites are going to be committing sins, and it's going to lead to the destruction of some group of people. I don't know. Anyways, after the sun went down and the darkness fell, Abram saw a smoking fire pot and a flaming torch pass between the halves of the carcasses. So the Lord made a covenant with Abram that day and said, I have given this land to you and your descendants all the way from the border of Egypt to the great Euphrates River. The land now occupied by the Kenites, Kenizzites, Cadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Rephites, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites. So that day, the Lord established a covenant with Abram, saying, look, I have given this land to your descendants. This is for your peoples. And it's all due to the sacrifice that Abram gave. Remember, Abram gave a sacrifice, and we saw how the Lord came down. He saw a smoking fire pot and a flaming torch pass between the two halves of the carcasses. This is how I believe that God was interacting with the sacrifices that Abram left. So, because God, I guess, enjoyed those sacrifices or thought it was pleasing, he made a covenant with Abram. And Abram now has promise to this land that's ahead of him, all the way from the border of Egypt to the great Euphrates River. And maybe we could put a map on the screen. But that's the end of chapter 15. Hopefully you learned something. It was a really short chapter. It's basically setting up the fact that Abram and God has made a covenant with Abram, and that's not going to be broken ever. So we're going to see that covenant play out. We're going to see Abram's life play out according to that covenant in the next couple of chapters. We're actually going to get a new main character coming up here soon, still within Abram's family, but there will be someone new. So I hope you enjoyed number 15. In the next one, we'll do 16. And remember to have a great day. Remember to do all that you can to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And also remember that you got that God power. On your heart, tugging on your